The Jack Smith case is the documents case. Now, the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, is pretty upset that along with the presidential immunity appeal, if you will, or argument that's going to the Supreme Court for the Georgia case of election interference, Trump is also citing this as something that will go against his document case as well. It applies to his documents case. Now, the U.S. prosecutor, the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, is not happy about that at all because he just sees this as a delay tactic. Reuters reports Trump prosecutor calls immunity bid in documents case a delay tactic. The March 7th, U.S. prosecutors on Thursday accused Donald Trump of bringing a, quote, frivolous claim of presidential immunity in a criminal case, accusing him of mishandling classified documents after leaving the White House. The move by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith is an effort to block the former president from using an immunity claim to delay trial. After the U.S. Supreme Court agreed to hear oral arguments next month on his claim of immunity in a separate case accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election defeat, quote, because Trump advances an entirely meritless claim that could not provide him any relief, even if correct, the court should deny his immunity claim, Smith argued in a court filing. Quote, that frivolous claim is offered for one transparent reason, to delay the trial. Immunity claims, unlike other legal issues addressed before a trial, can usually be immediately appealed. Trump's immunity appeal in the election-related case has caused months of delay. Smith said all the conduct charged in a 40-count indictment against Trump occurred after he left the White House in January 2021 and would not be covered even if presidents are entitled to protection against criminal prosecution for official actions. Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, has agreed that the charges stem from the official decision he made in his final days as president, including a reported move to designate current records as, quote, personal rather than belonging to the United States government. Prosecutors have said that documents related to issues including nuclear weapon capability and U.S. vulnerability to military attack and could not be construed as personal records. Now, this is all kind of stuff we've kind of discussed as information about, like, the Mar-a-Lago raid and all that stuff has kind of come to light. And so there are legitimate questions about some of the documents that he brought with him. And I'll be very curious how it goes. But it is also interesting to kind of on balance with the special prosecutor that just came, or the special investigation, whatever it was, that just came after Joe Biden and his issue related to all these documents that he's gathered over fucking 40 years. Where essentially the prosecutor, or the investigation in the report said that he was just kind of too old to be held to account for it. And if he's too doddering, if his mental state isn't there and he doesn't remember anything, if that's really the only defense for why Joe Biden didn't get charged for essentially the same exact crime that Donald Trump committed after leaving the White House with the documents, I don't understand how this is going to play out. They're of similar age, but also they're not even semi-similar as far as cognitive ability goes. And so if the only defense to why you broke the law is I'm too old and I don't remember when I became vice president or anything like that, like, Trump doesn't have that defense. So I'll be very interested to see how that happens. And I also, looking at the arguments to this, what I think is probably just another delay tactic too. I mean, I don't understand how presidential immunity could get him out of the documents case. It really doesn't make sense to me. What I would like for all these people to go to jail for these documents. Let's be honest. I've seen people in the military get their lives ruined because they accidentally opened up. How would I put this? They accidentally made an issue. They made a mistake with classified material, in which case it was not where it was supposed to be, or it was transported somewhere, and they instantly got kicked out of the military and were loaded with fines and dishonorable discharge and really, really, really bad shit. I mean, it is not it should not be. What was the kid on Discord that had those leaks about all the? He was like an Air Force National Guardsman or something, like Air National Guardsman, that leaked a bunch of crazy ass shit on Discord to his buddies. And I mean, they mobbed the dude's house. The SWAT was there. They took him away and they locked him up and threw away the key. There's no difference in this, essentially. I mean, Joe Biden, we found out from the Robert Hur investigation that he gave all this classified material to his fucking ghostwriter so that he could write, quote unquote, his book, his biography. I mean, what are we talking about here? Trump had a conversation with somebody that we know of that where he mentioned, like, oh yeah, I mean, this was all classified or whatever. We're talking about the same things here, man. And so depending on how this goes down, the imbalance and justice in this is going to be very, very interesting to see. But as of right now, that's kind of where we're at. We'll see what happens. I mean, it is going to be a delay tactic, obviously. If I was being if I was being tried for something I didn't think I was guilty of, or that everybody else is guilty of, and I'm just one guy, and you're just coming after me because you don't like me, I'd be using every single tactic that I had disposal to like try to stretch this out as long as possible and just not have to deal with it. But we will see how that turns out. So now we have a couple more things here. Oh, this was a good one. Okay, we're gonna take here a little break after this video, and then we'll get back into some other things. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up. This is gonna be good. So this, I leave you with the insanity of the mainstream media via our lovely Rachel Maddow talking about the Trump immunity claim.
Now, if you think about the court,
too quiet again. Come on, Rachel, get up there.
Now, if you think about the court as the Supreme Court of the United States and a rational actor and a decent one, that was a reasonable supposition, and it just turns out they're not that.
In your opinion,
incremental bit of progress here. The important question here is not whether the Supreme Court is going to decide that Donald Trump and all presidents are immune from prosecution for things crimes they committed while they were president.
Exactly. It's actually exactly what it means, because you have no understanding of physics, or civics, and how the government actually works.
I mean, it would be fully insane for them to actually side with Trump here, right? The conclusion that we can arrive at now based on what they have done without having to wait for the ruling is that they are ensuring that Trump will not face trial. And when they inevitably rule that presidents aren't immune from prosecution after they leave office, what that will tell Donald Trump, if by then he is president.
I love this jump to conclusions. What's coming? What's coming? Dictator for life?
Is that he can never leave the office of the presidency. Right. And if he is voted out in 2028, he cannot leave office, and he is willing to he is welcome to commit any crimes he wants to, as long as he is still president, in order to ignore the result of that election and stay in power for life, because otherwise he is going to go to prison when he gets out.
Oh, the just insane world that you occupy, Rachel Maddow. I can't even, she can't honestly believe that, right? She can't. That's not real. That has to just be her playing her role in this little, I don't know. It's very upsetting. It's very, very upsetting to me that somebody could actually have such a grave misunderstanding of the possibilities of how our entire civic system works, the justice system and how that works, and just going to make assumptions that this guy is he's going to serve 4 years, and in 2028, if he's not dead, because he's also not exactly super healthy, and he's pretty old. I mean, he could have a heart attack any fucking day. He could dip out. That he's going to be president for life, because otherwise he'll go to jail. Because that makes sense. Let's see here. Oh, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Raskin out here initially abusing the lack of civic knowledge he knows people have. Amen. And that's what Rachel Maddow's doing. If she does believe it, it's an interesting look into how she would operate and view things if she was in the seat. Yeah. And that's the kind of the most disturbing thing is like she's not an unpopular person as far as like the corporate press goes. Like people listen to her and trust what she has to say. And then they take that insane view and carry it forward and kind of like move through their life, assuming that's the way things go. And then next thing you know, I mean, this is going to be an interesting thing, I think, for psychologists to study a few decades, is whether or not what we call Trump derangement syndrome now is some form of actual mental health problem. Because like it's insane what she's talking about. It's absolutely insane. There's nothing to indicate whether legally throughout history. I mean, the closest thing you can get is to go back to the fucking Roman Republic. And there was some fuckery around there with there was a 2-president system at that time, the 2 consuls. They were both in charge. And every now and again, because something would be going on, one of them would have to declare themselves a dictator, take sole command, and then eventually give that power back up, which, for the most part, they did for a while, and it kind of worked out. But there were cases where consuls would make themselves dictator because it wasn't so much, they weren't, the corruption that we have in the judicial system now is nowhere near what it was like during like the Roman Republic era. Because if they didn't like you or they didn't like what you were doing, like the Senate could just throw bogus ass charges on you and just have you murdered. The minute you left office, you would just be dead because that's the way justice was handled back then. And so there were periods of history where consuls kind of just became dictators and they just stayed in charge for a while and they dealt with their enemies that way. And then once the danger was done, they could go back to civil life because if they would have given up power at the time, they get a knife in the back. That's the way that went. But that has nothing to do with the way our society works and how our government works. Everything that she just said was insane, was 100% insane, not founded in any form of reality whatsoever.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready.